Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigeland Network show. My name is Emma Vigeland, and it is our Locks special episode of the NFL season. You know what to do, folks. Subscribe, youtube.com/ESVN show. Put on push notifications so you'll be notified if we're going early a little early, 5 minutes live. But, you want to catch us live? You better be liking that stream. You better be rating us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everywhere you're listening to this. And you better be saying hello to Bradley Alsop.
Yeah, you better.
You better.
I've deserved so much credit and so much honor directed my way due to my exemplary performance over these past 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness. I mean, should we just get right into it?
This is why I was saying on Monday that I don't know anything about football.
No, I mean, you may not know anything about the spreads, but you did beat me the first year that we did this, so I don't really want to put the cart before the horse. And I didn't do too much better.
No, I appreciate you not underestimating me.
I do not because you get hot later in the year.
Yeah,
and I feel
Bengals.
like, I mean, look, so both of us are not doing great. This is kind of a theme. And we're both underwater, sub 500 in our 3 locks 2 weeks into this.
Nice.
Now we're on to week 3. Shall we just begin?
Let's dive right in.
ESVN.
Stone Cold Lock of the Century. All week.
Yeah.
Boom.
As you can see by our performances, extremely subjective Stone Cold Locks of the Century of the week.
I mean, we're cold.
We're definitely cold.
We're definitely not
stone cold.
We're definitely not hot, but yes.
Stone cold derogatory.
Exactly. And thank you for Dan from the internet, to Dan from the internet, my buddy, once again for putting that together, because the coldness of it all can have double meanings. So yeah, let's pull up our results from last week. As Bradley was hinting at, the poor guy is 0-6, so he has not hit yet. This is the week. This is the week, Bradley. This is the week. So last week you did not. I mean, look, like Buffalo blew out Miami. So I think I disagreed with you on that too. That was the one. I liked the Colts, but turns out, kind of an issue when you're throwing multiple interceptions, AR. And then the Rams got smoked by the Cardinals. But I almost picked the Cardinals, but I didn't do that.
There have been a few things I think we've been somewhat both proven right and wrong about, which is one that I think we may have underestimated how good the Bills are on both ends of the ball, despite my reservations.
They're not good on both ends of the ball. You know how I feel about that situation.
I mean, I guess I wasn't expecting them to I wasn't expecting this game to be this far out of reach against Miami necessarily, but also I think we found out obviously that there is
James Cook is more talent is really good, yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm talking about in the sense of like that dynamic of a run game was not, I would say, as present last year even, and then I think even for the first 2 weeks it's looked better. Defense, I agree with you. I think we can still attest to like.
But they're well coached.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Every time they're well coached.
At the very least, Sean McDermott kind of has a floor of like a well coached defense, despite personnel. I think, and the Dolphins, I think, especially now with Tua out, like we kind of see the
writing on the
issues
wall
right now. The Colts' run defense might be the worst in the league, and that's why Matt LaFleur was like, okay, I have Malik Willis at quarterback. I'm just going to literally run it down their throats and give Malik Willis like the most elementary throws to make imaginable, and it worked.
And it worked.
and then with the Rams and the Cardinals, I think we're just seeing that like this team is just being held together by like gum and toothpicks right now.
Yeah, and that's why I picked against the Rams, spoiler alert, for my lock this week. But last week I was wrong about Baltimore covering the biggest spread of the week. I mean, maybe the Ravens are just bad. Maybe they're just bad. I don't know what to say about them.
And that was shocking because I would never have been like, oh yeah, like Gardner Minshew and the Raiders are gonna like stick it to the
no one would have thought that. I mean, the spread was big, but it was in Baltimore, and that's usually pretty good.
Right.
Like last year, they were really great at home. The Jaguars -3 at home lost to the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns. He looked better last week, but does he ever look good? No.
I think the Jags have to be on our like no-fly list.
I'm done with it.
Our blacklist.
I'm done with betting on them and the Giants. Like I saw 6.5 against the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns this week. I was like, should I go for it with the Giants? But I can't.
No, we have to stay far away for now.
I can't. And then like Stefanski seems to just always pull a rabbit out of his ass. Honestly, he's a really good coach. And then Tampa at Detroit, I nailed that one. So 7.5 was way too much for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now let's just start here. I'm 2-4. Bradley's 0-6. Let's see if we can get back to 500 here.
Very
for me.
nice.
And Bradley can hopefully crawl out of the hole a little bit, get his first win.
0-6 is so funny. I can't believe that.
I think you started 0-6 last year too.
You think I should double check. I'm curious.
We should, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going again with Tampa Bay this week. Denver Broncos at Tampa Bay. 6.5, winning by a touchdown. It's just like, what is there to be excited about with Denver? They are not explosive on offense. I saw the statistic today in like The Athletic. Bo Nix ranks 94th in EPA per drop back and 93rd in passer rating among 101 quarterbacks since 2000, making their first 2 career starts. So he's been one of the worst quarterbacks over the first 2 weeks in terms of expected basically explosiveness in plays, and since 2000 that's pretty bad. So I just think that Todd Bowles is going to feast. He has shown creativity on that side of the ball. I mean, they have injuries. I know Vita Vea is banged up and Rashad White is banged up on offense, but Baker's just balling. He's playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. He didn't throw for a lot of yards in that Lions game. They really minimized the yardage, but he made every clutch throw imaginable. And so I just think at home, like, I have no reason to bet against the Buccaneers right now. And I have no reason to have faith in the Broncos. So that's what I'm going with.
And I just think that Sean Payton, I think, is potentially. Bo Nix has been obviously playing really, really poorly, but I don't know. I was saying this on Monday as well. I just don't think the way that that they're scheming up this offense is helping him, because so much of it is starting behind the line of scrimmage to begin with.
I know, and it's just crazy because he looked so good in preseason.
He did,
and we were
yeah.
giving praise, but it's also that can be a bit of a trick in the sense that, like, maybe Sean Payton was trying to build his confidence, so he showed a little more in the preseason. I mean, there's some coaches that if they have faith in their guys and their scheme, they are almost paranoid about what they show in the preseason. But if you want to give your rookie quarterback a little bit of confidence, there you go. And then the defenses are incredibly simple as well on the other side. So it looks like he's regressing in the regular season, and Todd Bowles is going to just blitz and be creative and mess with him, and they're in Tampa. So
yeah, this is the guys I feel like we've talked about, and I think some people have also mentioned this as well, where it is, probably one of the worst defensive coordinators to face when you're like a young quarterback or a rookie quarterback. I'd say top 3 is probably like Todd Bowles, Brian Flores, and then maybe who's the other guy I was thinking of?
I would have said Vic Fangio back in the day,
or maybe Spags too. Maybe
Spags is the best pick there. Yes,
just because I was thinking of those 3 in the context of, like, there's so much.
Well, Mike McDonald made his life hell. I know
Totally.
he's a head coach at this point, but he showed his talent up in Seattle.
But there's so much kind of trickery going on where you think these boxes are stacked, and then 3 or 4 guys drop back in coverage, or you're thinking, oh, I'm anticipating this simulated pressure, and then they Bowles sends the house on you, and there are like 8 guys in the backfield. So, like, I would also be kind of like nervous if I was the Broncos just to face a Todd Bowles defense.
It's a big spread, but that's what I'm going with. All right, so you have the Pittsburgh Steelers at home against the Chargers -1.5. Seeing that Justin Herbert, I was going to pick the Chargers actually in this situation because I think the Steelers are not as good as their record indicates, but like, and I think, it's like a cult down there in LA with the Chargers in the way that Harbaugh is just like gassing up Herbert. But
you see his quote.
Herbie is fully loaded.
Did you see his quote Harbaugh's quote where he said, "I'm like Moses and I'm going to lean on my staff"?
Yeah, I mean, yes. He also said that
he is a lunatic.
He's a lunatic. He also said, like, there's not a gene in Justin Herbert's body that I would not trade for.
Right, which is also just like the biological language is just so bizarre.
It's so weird.
And then also the religious language about saying he's like Moses. It's just like so much going on in that guy's head.
So much going on. But to be clear, like, and I don't even like the way they play football in the sense of Justin Herbert's going to throw for max like 250 yards a game.
It's
but
like check down city still.
And still, it's all through the run, and we'll see how J.K. Dobbins holds up. But just as an aside, it works. Like, it gets the whole team to play like a team, and at the very, I don't know how that translates for like if they want to win the Super Bowl, because I think you need to be a little more creative. But I'm happy to see Herbert get some confidence because he's a more of a meek guy, and Harbaugh's bringing out the dog in him. But he's not practicing, so he may be injured for this game.
And listen, also, Quentin Johnson had 2 touchdowns in this last game.
I know.
Has he had a multiple touchdown game since he came into the league? I'm not sure. I actually don't know.
In training, I don't think so. But in training camp, he wasn't even running with the first team. So good for him for breaking
100%.
out. So happy for Quentin Johnson. But anyway, you think that the Steelers are going to shut down the Chargers?
Yeah, this is obviously, I'm really going off the Steelers playbook here, which is I just think there's a chance that this defense, which has been just looking really, really incredible so far with the combination of like TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith playing out of their minds, but then also Cam Hayward, even at 35 years old, still playing as like one of the best linebackers or in the sense that he does. So, I think he's a linebacker. I'm pretty sure.
Cam Hayward?
Yeah,
Cam
defensive
Hayward
tackle.
He's on the defensive line.
But I feel like even for his age, he still shows like a lot of burst and also versatility for this defense. Despite sometimes these guys when they're that old, they do slow down significantly, and he's still playing really, really at a high level.
Yeah.
And then in the secondary, I still am really enjoying watching Joey Porter Jr. play. I think that the defense will probably rule the day here for this matchup. And if Justin Fields and the Steelers can literally get like 2 chunk plays, and Chris Boswell can hit like 3 field goals, I think they can win the game.
I mean, TJ Watt is also having another year where he's like in contention for Defensive 100%. Player of the Year.
He was, against the who was, I forgot their first round opponent. He was feasting in week 1. The Falcons, right?
The Falcons.
They were just all over Kirk and Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. So I think they'll that's I think also a kind of an encouraging thing is that they were stopping the run very effectively and frequently against Atlanta. So obviously Jim Harbaugh is likes to architect these very run heavy offenses, and I think they'll be looking out for that and able to kind of impact that positively. And if they can literally score like a touchdown and a half, I think it's enough.
It's going to be a very, very, I don't remember what the total is for over-under, but definitely going to be the lowest of the week, I'd imagine. So I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers -7 in LA. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to be honest with you.
Because we were just talking about the cupboard. The cupboard is empty right now for the poor Rams.
Who knows? This could come and bite me in the ass. But I think I'm the most confident in this spread. More confident in this spread than maybe I've been with any. Well, the Tampa at Detroit, I was pretty confident in. But I don't know. First of all, Shanahan is 10-4 with McVay in the regular season.
Right.
The Rams are as injured as any team I've ever seen. Their top 2 wide receivers are out in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. The entire offensive line is decimated.
Yeah, so Steve Avila's out. Joe Noteboom's out, and then I believe Jonah Jackson is also out. So,
on the defensive side of things, sorry, I'm thinking Josh Johnson is the safety.
Oh,
John
Johnson is the safety?
Whatever. I thought you were referring to the safety. Go on, sorry.
But so 3 starters on the offensive line for the Rams are out.
Yeah,
and as you said, they'll be playing Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson as well.
And John Johnson is out, right? Or at the very least, he just went on IR. So on the defensive side, they're struggling as well. And then Tre'Davious White has been really bad. They had Tre'Davious White on defense, and then everyone else is really young, and then they're injured. And then so it's just okay, the 49ers, they don't have McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason looks like a beast. It doesn't really matter with that scheme. Deebo Samuel, that presents some challenges for them, but they're going to pepper Juwan Johnson.
I was just going to say.
They love him. He was all over the Super Bowl last year. They trust him a lot.
He's very reliable, Juwan Jennings. He's
and I just think that did they say Juwan Johnson?
Yeah, I think you may have said that's the.
Jesus, I'm really struggling with these names lately. I need to cut back on pod. I really think that's what it is. I'm serious.
It's affecting the memory card.
But to be honest, I can't wait until after. I have to wait till after the election.
You got to take the memory card out of the console. Just blow on it.
Dude. Yeah, dry January.
It's fine. It's
whatever.
It's okay.
So long story short, yes, I'm going with the Rams. I mean, the 49ers in LA -7. I think that.
And I agree.
Very confident.
And I totally agree in the sense that I just do feel like even when they are injured, I think we've seen it already. I mean, Jordan Mason still did have a good game against the Vikings, even though they lost. And I think like of like number 3 receivers, like Juwan Jennings is like has always been really reliable, and especially when they need something from him, he's like the dirty work guy that has a little bit of upside too. And George Kittle's still there. He's still playing. So like
Yeah.
so as they are obvious, and Brandon Ayuk. So like so I know they are missing weapons. I just think they're less beat up than the Rams are, and I kind of trust that. Like.
And they're deep. The Rams
Totally.
The Rams are Stafford and McVay making a lot of magic, and I just think that the team's collapsing right now.
It's a tough sell for this offense to now have to be relying on like volume touches for Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson, who in their own right in their proper place on a team, I actually think are good players. It's just they shouldn't be wide receiver 1 and 2 for a team like the Rams.
Yeah. All right, so you have this is my favorite pick of yours. It's actually the only pick I agree with, to be honest with you. The Eagles plus 2.5 in New Orleans. And I don't even know if I agree with it that much because the Eagles are a bit of a head case mess. Like, they gave that game away, but they are more talented than New Orleans.
Well, and I also think, I'm also counting a little bit of the fact that obviously, I think that the Saquon play call for them to lose that game in Atlanta was obviously the wrong one. But like, if he catches that ball, they basically win the game. So I'm not taking.
That was pretty delicious, by the way.
Of course, I think you were probably the first person that came to mind when I saw that play. I was like, Eva's going to be.
He has a problem with drops. He's an overrated pass catcher, but he's had a great start to the season. But yeah.
So I'm just thinking I'm thinking that might just be more of like a higher variance mistake than like a full-on systemic problem for them. And I still feel like even though there is a little bit where I'm still sort of like, I don't know how much I trust Jalen Hurts. I really do trust Jeff Stoutland, the line, and the run game a lot. And I think the Saints defense has been overall pretty good, kind of riding the middle, and they have some good players, but I'm sort of relying. I just think that the Eagles can make some movement against this defense, and I have been liking for the most part. There obviously are still some weak points, but Jalen Carter's been playing really well. I'm wondering if some of these guys on the front, Milton Williams has been playing really well in the middle of that front seven. I think I'm predicting that maybe they can get a little bit more pressure on Derek Carr and the Saints than other teams have been able to in the last 2 weeks. Or I could be wrong and they score 46 points again. But I think
they have to come down to earth at some point.
That's sort of what it's. I'm not even necessarily thinking they're going to like fall flat. I just more am wondering if maybe after week 3 in the third meeting for a team against the Saints, their explosiveness will be mitigated slightly.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the problem is like Vic Fangio hasn't been good. Like the Eagles have no basically roster problems. Basically none. I mean, I like their secondary is exactly. A little old.
It's nitpicky though,
But CJ Gardner-Johnson plays like a man on like possessed, and they have a coaching issue. I mean,
no, that's. I mean, the thing is,
Nick Sirianni's a clown.
What we were discussing, what I was even just mentioning is like you should not be
that meme of him. I hate him.
And even I feel like he was sort of exhibiting a little bit of that before he then calls this basically like slot fade for Saquon when they can just run the ball and end the game.
I know. I don't hate that, but the play call was right. Though. I mean, the play call it worked though. Like Saquon just got to execute that play. I mean, it was right in his hands, and there was no one around him.
But I think if you even
he's making millions of dollars a year.
But I think if you have a slight concern, you want to be like. I guess what I'm saying is like I
get it.
I wouldn't have minded even some semblance of conservatism, which goes against everything I like in football, just to be like, we're here. Let's not give frickin' Kirk Cousins enough time to mount a 90-yard drive to beat us.
I know. Well, then that's on Fangio. I mean, Fangio was playing horribly, like was not playing aggressive defense at all on that final drive.
Which I do feel like has honestly been his problem the last few seasons of him coming back into the league is like that's where I sort of think the Fangio scheme is getting potentially left behind a little bit, is that it is much more passive than like a Mike McDonald, Brian Flores type of scheme. There's not as much like dynamism or kind of like sleight of hand trickery that I think is very much like in vogue and kind of necessary. But I think the talent is good though.
Of course.
I really like Jalen Carter even so far I think has still really been quite impressive to me. And
he pops.
I'm hoping that the talent can win out and that the Saints can be slowed down slightly after 2 very volcanic weeks for them.
All right, so I'm going with Kansas City -3.5 in Atlanta. The half point scares me a little bit, but I was not impressed with the way the Falcons looked, despite the fact that they won that game. I think that the Eagles let them win that game. Like the Saquon drop, I'm not. I think the play call, as we're saying, like that's third on my list. Number one is Vic Fangio, whatever the fuck he was doing on that final drive.
Well, because they marched at will. They
marched at will.
It was automatic for the Falcons.
It was bizarre. I mean, they were playing only for the end zone, and they just allowed, without any timeouts, the Falcons to drive up and down the field like really easily. Kirk is he's still not right. He looked better as the game went on, but he can't plant on that front leg.
He's stiff.
Yeah. And I feel for him because there's a little bit of the same problem with Rodgers. That Achilles, when you get to a certain age, is extremely difficult to recover from. The technology is not where it is at for ACL and MCL. Yeah. So, I just think that the Chiefs are going to win this game. It's in the Dome. I think without Pacheco, that's a bit of a hurt. That hurts the team. But I think Mahomes is going to be like, bombs away. Let's go. They were the worst team on the field against the Bengals, and I think that they're such a psycho organization. They're going to be self-motivated to come out and put on a show against an Atlanta team that does actually have a lot of talent on defense, but it's Mahomes.
And frankly, the Chiefs Bengals thing, it's who basically rubs or steps on a monkey's paw last. It is they don't play normal games against one another. They are always razor thin margins. People are always either playing inexplicably better or worse.
Lou Anarumo has a pretty good sense of what Andy Reid's system is.
Totally,
so.
And he's always kind of had a hand in some of the more kind of impressive stiflings of that system.
Yeah.
So I'm much more confident with the Chiefs playing against a Falcons team that, even with, as you were saying, honestly, I think as it's not even surprising to say this, speaking of a former Bengal, but Jesse Bates is playing phenomenal football already, and there are a few guys that I think have been exhibiting some strong play in Atlanta, but I think the Chiefs will bounce back from the team that has always kind of given them fits before to an easier opponent.
Yeah. All right, so you're going with the Colts -1.5.
Yeah, I can't quit these guys, even though the run defense is really horrible. But the Bears, I'm still quite surprised. And talk about a coach problem. I think Shane Waldron is a bad offensive coordinator, and I think they should maybe fire him in 6 to 9 weeks.
I mean, the offense looks better in Seattle now.
Significantly so.
Yeah.
I think somehow, some way, even though I think of him as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think Geno Smith even looks more confident. And you
think of him as one of the best quarterbacks in the league?
I maybe not best. I find him to be one of the most entertaining.
Entertaining.
As in for me, is to watch somebody who can who is the combination of having the arm talent he has, but also is willing to take the risks that he does.
Well, I'm rooting for him. Yeah.
And I think he's playing better than he did last year already.
Yeah, I think so too.
And interestingly enough, the Seahawks were experiencing difficulties with injuries on the offensive line, which looked to be sort of dooming them, and that they didn't really have that many options. This is now happening in Chicago as well, where the offensive line is also kind of subpar, and now the common denominator is Shane Waldron, being that why are there no contingency plans for a bad offensive line? Good offensive coordinators figure out how to do that. Clint Kubiak is doing that right now.
Yep, that's a good point.
Clint Kubiak was able to bottle up Micah Parsons with an offensive line that, on paper, given the injuries and given the experiences that these guys have, I'm talking about, injury concerns with Ryan Ramczyk and play concerns with Trevor Penning, all of that. They stifled an offense, a Cowboys defense that people thought were going to be more effective than that, and Waldron's not doing that.
Yeah.
So Caleb Williams is under significant duress the entire game.
Yeah.
He couldn't breathe when they were playing against the Texans.
So my question to you is, who on the Colts is going to be able to do that?
Right. That's the question I have to answer.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that question entirely, but I just am,
because DeForest Buckner's on IR.
Yeah.
That's the thing that scares me about this pick by you.
So, I mean, listen,
I'm not trying to pile on. I don't know. I don't know if I like this selection. Like,
if it doesn't hit for me, I will actually honestly be somewhat. I will take solace in the fact that Caleb Williams will have a good game, but he hasn't really shown me much that makes me think he's going to have a good game.
Fair enough. Okay, but now because I've beat up on your picks, you get to pick which one you hate of mine.
I don't hate any of your picks.
Oh, damn it.
I'm not like that, Emma.
Oh, sorry.
I'm a benevolent person.
Okay. I'm not. The truth is I'm too competitive, and it brings out a horrible side of me.
No. I understand. It's so funny. It's this happens. This is happening in the YouTube chat right now. This stuff makes me laugh so hard, just because I always find myself most weeks during this time of the year where I'm like talking about my picks, and I'm like, I am convincing myself otherwise of the things that I've chosen.
Yeah.
And then also people in chat are saying they're going to make parlays based off of picking against my picks.
Oh, nice. I like that.
An anti-Bradley parlay.
Hey, I'm 2 and 4.
We should get promo codes for one of these sportsbook sites.
Honestly,
for an anti-me parlay.
Honestly.
How can you say I'm saying that this is a lock for anybody when I'm intentionally telling them to go against my picks?
Hey, we wipe the slate clean every week.
That's right. You have to.
All right. So what I'm going with is, for everybody listening in the podcast audience, I'm going with Tampa Bay Bucks -6.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. The San Francisco 49ers -7 to win by a touchdown plus in LA facing the Rams. The Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football -3.5 in Atlanta. And Bradley's going with the Pittsburgh Steelers -1.5 at home against the Chargers. The Philadelphia Eagles +2.5 against the Saints in New Orleans. The Indianapolis Colts -1.5 facing the Chicago Bears in Indianapolis. All right. With that, we're going to wrap up. Folks, we'll see you on Monday. Enjoy a new week of football.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.